So this video, we're talking about Yoni egg gemstones and some of the properties, but also some really necessary safety information so that you can make sure that the crystals you're drawn to and want to use as Yoni eggs are actually safe for internal use, because not all of them are. So the most common gemstone would be jade, but it's not the only one that can be used, as we've talked about. You can use all kinds of different quartzes, carnelians, opalite, which is even a lab-created glass, so it's not actually a gemstone at all. But there's so many different beautiful types of gemstones that you can find in egg carvings, even being sold as Yoni eggs, but that doesn't mean you can use them all. Massage wands would be another thing that if you're using crystal wands, you need to make sure you're using safe ones, because you can find a lot that are phallic shaped and everything else. So what do you need to be paying attention to? No matter what gemstone you want, you need to look up the Mohs scale of hardness, MOH scale of hardness. You can Google it and it'll bring you up a beautiful list that you can look at whenever you need it. And what this scale does is it tells you the hardness and softness of all the different minerals on the spectrum. There would be way too many to try to cover in this video, so we're not going to do that. I'll just post a link for a website you can go to check it out in the description below and let you have your way with it. So the hardness you want to be looking for is anything 5.5 and above. So on the scale of 1 to 10, you're looking at really, really hard, which would be a number 10, which is like diamond. And I think quartz is a 9. So you've got really, really hard gemstones that if you put them in water, which is basically what you're doing when you lube them up and stick them in your vagina, they're not going to dissolve. They are way too hard. They're going to be just fine. But if you start looking at things that are softer, like talc would be the very softest. I mean, it's powder. Sandstone, you think if you grab it and you like rub against it, it starts to come apart in your hands, and powdery and dusty. And that might be fine if it's basically just dirt, which is kind of gross. But if you're using something like pyrite, then the minerals that create pyrite, the elements that create pyrite, if they are absorbed into your body, can actually be toxic. So you don't want to be giving yourself like lead poisoning or mercury poisoning by using a Yoni egg that you're trying to have amazing, delightful healing with, and you end up poisoning yourself. That's terrible. So any of the minerals you want to use, you need to make sure that they're hard enough not to dissolve in your vaginal fluids. So something like selenite, beautiful. Everybody wants to have a, lovely, heavenly, angelic, crystalline vagina, I guess, at some point or another. Sometimes you want it dark and dirty. But selenite is a really popular healing stone. You will never, ever, ever want to put this in your vagina, because not only is it going to dissolve, but it also like splinters when it starts to dissolve. And like, just think about that for a second. No. So even though you can find them as massage wands or massage stones, and you would think you could go there, don't. Check your mineral scale for any type of crystal you're attracted to. Make sure that it's safe for internal use. If it's not and you still want to use it, perfect. You don't have to have a crystal in your vagina in order to get healing benefits from it. Make it a beautiful little waist chain or a beautiful mala. Let it hang between your breasts and tickle your belly. There are so many other ways you can get benefits of those crystals without having them in your pussy. That is what it is. If you're called to use them in your pussy, make sure they're safe. So with that, once you've made sure that they're safe and they are above a 5.5, you also want to check your supplier to make sure that they can give you a third-party authenticity certificate to make sure that those gemstones are indeed authentic. Because there is a lot of, even in jewelry, any kind of gemstone trade product, you're finding a lot of replacements. So there is a lot of jade that isn't actually jade. And turquoise is another one that they just dye howlite. I think lapis is another one, although lapis is a pretty controversial gemstone. It's hard enough that it passes the test on the Mohs scale, but it does have some pyrite in it. So make a personal choice. Some people are like, yes. Some people are like, hell the fuck no. So make a personal choice. Always play safe in my book and just turn that beautiful Yoni egg into a necklace. I have one right here. Because I think lapis is pretty. But it's not in my vagina. Tiger's eye is another one that is, depending on who you talk to, safe or not safe. So I'll give you the skinny on tiger's eye. Tiger's eye in its raw form, meaning like if you were to just like pull it out of its mineral home and look at it, and it's got all its rough edges and shapes, it's rough. It actually has asbestos in the formation of the gemstone and the mineral. So if you leave it unpolished and you were to just stick a pebble in your vagina, you could leach asbestos out, not because it's dissolving, but because it's got fibers there. So if you have it polished, which the Yoni eggs are, you've sealed all of it off. You don't have any like splintery fragments that are going to come out and start moving around and swimming in your pussy. You don't have to worry about that. So as long as you're using a polished gemstone, and with any gemstone, if you drop it and it cracks or it chips or it fractures, you need to replace it anyway. But especially with something like tiger's eye, because you don't want to leave any particles that could go into you. So that is also another thing. Think about it, weigh the preferences, use or don't use, that's your personal choice. But just know if it's polished and sealed, it is considered safe. Some people still won't use it. It's totally up to you. So yeah, make sure that it's lab certified, so you're getting genuine gemstone. And if they're not willing to give you that, don't buy it. Because there are a lot of fakes out there. So I think that's all that on safety. So yeah, Yoni eggs, crystal wands, massage wands, dildos. If you're using crystals, check to make sure they're hard enough. All quartz is safe, so if you're buying a quartz and you know that it's certified, anything quartz is good. Obsidian also, because it's volcanic glass, so it's also very safe. And I love obsidian. Let me tell you why. The most common gemstones you're going to find is Yoni eggs are pretty much all the different chakra stones. So using obsidian to work with your root is a really beautiful, powerful one. I have a fantasy about getting a garnet stone, a garnet Yoni egg, but I haven't found one yet. So if you find a garnet Yoni egg, holla at your girl. Oh, can you just imagine how beautiful that would be? Or an emerald one. I want gemstone Yoni eggs. Those would be so pretty. Anyway, that's an aside. So root, obsidian. Obsidian is like a volcano in your vagina. It is a very powerful mover and shaker. It explodes all of your repressed stuff. It brings up your shadow. It brings up your content. It's cataclysm. And that's fantastic, because sometimes that's exactly what we need when we're feeling stuck, because your root zone is what feeds the energy that evaporates up your entire chakra system and circulates through your whole body. So if it's not full of life and vitality and pumping, then the rest of you is also going to be depleted. So you need to make sure that your root is moving, and obsidian is perfect for that. So I like to think of obsidian as like Lilith energy, that dark sexual goddess that can sometimes be terrifying and maligned and misidentified with, but is really, really fucking amazing. Then another beautiful one is carnelian. And carnelian is kind of like the refined, sensual goddess. She's not so blatant in her sexuality that it kind of makes you like, whoa. But she's also very comfortable, very confident in it, and is a beautiful gemstone for empowerment, fertility, awakening a more refined level of sensuality that's not quite so raw as the obsidian might be. And carnelian is safe. Then you've also got tiger's eye if you so choose it, or you could use something like a yellow jade, which would start to work on that solar plexus and get that creativity flowing, that wow factor. I love that saucy, primal, animalistic side that's kind of like, don't get so stuck in your head, just go for what you want. You know you want it, and it gives you the confidence and the juice to reach for those things. I do love tiger's eye. Whether you're using it internally or not, I love tiger's eye. And then you're moving up into the heart, so you could use jade for this. You could use rose quartz is a really popular one to start accessing and moving more heart energy. And this is a really, really important point, that you have some sort of heart stone that you can work with when you need it, because all of this raw energy that's moving through your whole body, we've got all of this space, and then it starts coming up to your neck and into your throat, and things start to get really confined and then even more condensed when they get into your head. So making sure you've got really good flow here in the heart. You're keeping things open. You're keeping things moving. This is really necessary to make sure it all doesn't start to get restricted and constricted up here. So work that heart magic. Rose quartz is beautiful, like getting Aunt Jemima and Aphrodite and smashing them together. Like, so comforting, so loving. Like Aunt Jemima, for those of you that aren't familiar, just like think of pancakes and warm syrup and big bosoms and a big hug, like your favorite grandma that's just like, oh my God, let me hug you, and she's suffocating you in her ginormous titties, and you kind of love it and you kind of don't, but it feels so comforting that when you're really upset, you need that. That's my summation of the comforting side of rose quartz. But there's also so much romance and beauty and femininity and softness and heartedness that you think of with Aphrodite, this goddess totally obsessed with love and connection. And that's not just something you can externalize with a partner or with the world or with your children, but you should also internalize with yourself. So rose quartz is great for rejuvenation, renewal, and comfort, but don't stay there, because the energy needs to keep moving up. So any of your beautiful blue stones, like I want a blue topaz Yoni egg, and I have actually seen one. I think that would be perfect for the throat, but any of your blue stones that are going to be hard enough would be great for getting communication and that verbal diplomacy that helps you bridge the gap between these body urges and getting into the head where you have to actually make logical sense when you're talking about stuff. This is a fantastic point to have some sort of a throat stone that is safe. Make sure it's safe. And then coming into opalite or clear quartz and amethyst would be great for third eye and crown and moving all that energy up and out of the head. Opalite is really playful. I think of it as like a pixie, because even though it is lab created, the energy that all of those elements just seem to combine in that pearlescence, just rainbow milkiness is so beautiful, and it's flirtatious, and it's a really fun gemstone for women who are looking to tap into their sensuality and sexuality more, but don't want it to be so serious or so heavy or so crazy and rip you wide open, but kind of like just need a little funner, softer way to jump right in, but need a little more fire than maybe the rose quartz would bring. The opalite is a fun play stone of like, get in your pussy and play with it, for fuck's sake. Go with the opalite. Clear quartz is going to amplify everything. So it's great as a programming stone that you can set intentions into. And we're going to talk about that in other videos. But clear quartz is great for that because it is the programming stone, which is why it's used in electronics and everything else. And data storage, so cool. Amethyst is fantastic for that like enlightened, evolved sexuality, just spirit in general. It's also great for soothing anxiety and balancing the nervous system. So if you bounce back and forth between loving your sexuality and hating your sexuality, or really feeling your sensual nature and then sometimes getting overwhelmed by it, or you can't get out of your head enough to even slip into your body, then amethyst might be a beautiful gemstone to start with. So these are just a few of the most popular and easy to access types of gemstones. My affiliate Kegel has all of these. So if you're interested, then you should check the website. You can get the certification on there so you know that your gemstones are legit, you know that they're safe, and you can pop them in and play. That's it for this video. Let me know as your homework which gemstone you feel like you're most drawn to. And yeah, what are your goals for this practice? Feeling through your body and all the different zones and centers, what do you feel is calling for more help? I'd love to know.